Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and while we're all waiting for patch 9.1, I decided to get creative with some of the new alts and playstyles that are available in the current World of Warcraft. If you're someone who's looking for something new, well, hopefully this will be the one-stop video for you. In this video, I want to show you guys some of the fun builds that I discovered, builds that are very much off meta, some are new, but some are old, and most of these builds are playstyles you might have not heard about. I wanted to find some builds that actually have some potential, as if I wanted to find builds that weren't completely trolling on DPS, someone that was kind of numerically okay, but definitely has its own unique flair to it. Technically, all these playstyles can kind of work, and they do try to do different things, albeit some of them are a lot harder to pick up and learn, but I wanted to try something different with a lot of my alts, some of the different playstyles I was looking for. And these are the 4 different playstyles that I found super enjoyable to play on my alt characters while waiting for patch 9.1. First one we're going to start off is with Arcane Mage, as particularly a Kyrian Arcane. Now the idea of a Kyrian Arcane to me just sounded awesome. Arcane is what the Kyrian abilities are all about. That's the school of magic they all built from, and Arcane Mage is also Kyrian. However, there was always a bit of a desync between the Kyrian ability and Arcane Mage playstyle. Some of your cooldowns are 45 seconds or 2 minutes, while the Kyrian ability is 30 seconds, so that desyncs quite often. However, there's been a build out for a while, and I want to have a channel link down below who's actually has a guide on the Kyrian Arcane build, because there's no way I could explain you the nuances of everything. But it's a playstyle where you take the legendary, where on your missiles you can build up damage for your Arcane Barrage. Using the Arcane ability that lets you build up damage of abilities, your 4th ability during that playstyle does 60% more damage, together with this powerful Arcane Barrage that can cleave multiple enemies, together with Arcane Power as well as all the other Arcane modifiers like Touch of the Magi. It creates some explosive burst. If you're someone who's been playing, let's say, Fire Mage for a while and you want to try something new on your Mage, Kyrian Arcane is super enjoyable. My favorite part is the fact that you change your rotation completely. Instead of just spamming Arcane Blast the whole time, you actually weave missiles into barrages. It's pretty mobile, so you don't even have to take Shimmer. You can take normal Blink, which can be useful in some dungeon situations. It's a decent build for single target, and it's a really fun build with AoE. It has had some performance capabilities actually. Some people actually do run it in keys with actual decent success, even though Arcane isn't a super popular spec to begin with. But it's super enjoyable, and I've actually been doing so many Mythic Plus keys, I'm gonna have a couple things to open from my weekly vault. So definitely, if you want to try something new with your Mage, maybe Fire's been feeling stale, maybe you're not feeling Frost, Kyrian Arcane is something to definitely check out in the future. Something you guys might not know about me is I actually started my first character in Cataclysm as a Druid main. I was never really good at it, but I always enjoyed the idea that your bleeds were just such a massive component of your playstyle, and Bleed Feral Druid is what I still believe to this day is the real Feral Druid. Even though it seems like Blizzard keeps straying away from it from expansion to expansion, focusing more on the bite mechanic. In what I remember, the Claws of Shavara and that weird jungle cat form thing, bite build was pretty big then. Then in Legion, for PvE purposes, Feral Druids were pretty big on shreds for single target, but also bites. Then going into BFA, it's back to bites while the bleeds take a kind of a backseat a little. And then now in Shadowlands, bleeds are kind of sort of there, but it's mostly the focus on bites. I was really hoping they would bring the bleeds back, because they even have a whole ability in the Necrolord Covenant that increases the damage over time of your dots, and I was hoping there'll be something that comes of it, and there's some potential for it for PvP, but nothing really for dungeons and raids. So I wanted to see if I can Frankenstein my favorite playstyle of a Bleed Kitty that focuses on all dot damage kind of back into the game. And for my sims on my not super well geared Feral, I was able to see about a 25 DPS loss, not even 25,000, 2,500, just 25. And for some people, losing even 1 damage difference is too much. But for me, I thought, well, what if I created a playstyle that's super enjoyable to play, and maybe I can kind of take that 25 damage loss for a more personally fun playstyle. Feral Druids always have been a hard spec to play, and this playstyle that I'm playing right now is even harder. Like, there's a lot more things you gotta track, and it's pretty punishing if you get it wrong, but it's pretty enjoyable. It kind of feels awesome. It's like the old school Warlocks where you just maintained dots and made sure things didn't fall off, and you were punished if dots ever fell off, and it's pretty awesome. It's like an Affliction Warlocks with fangs. I mean, Feral isn't a meta class to begin with. It's not really as popular as their cousin Boomy, so you might as well play a spec that isn't super popular the way you want to play. It's how I look at it. Definitely something for you guys to check out if you ever wanted to make a bleed kitty a thing again. The next class on this list is going to be a Warlock. Warlocks were one of those classes that I was drawn to since the beginning of Shadowlands, like I was with Rogues and Death Knights. Rogues, Death Knight, and Warlock were the top 3 classes that I really wanted to explore since the beginning of the expansion. And the amount of customizations Warlocks have in terms of different playstyles is obscene. Affliction and Destruction have their own playstyles, but the one I want to focus on is Demonology. And Demonology just has so many different demons you can summon, and all these demons have different legendaries and different conduits, and there's so many different ways to affect the different aspects of your gameplay. You could play a build where you're all about pumping up the Demon Bolt damage, and then if you go Necrolord, you can just make some of the fattest Demon Bolts rivaling a Chaos Bolt. You can have a billion imps if you wanted to, and have a little imp army blasting your enemy's way, preparing for that massive implosion. You can have a massive tyrant and have them on a very short cooldown. You have a build with talents and conduits to buff up your Felguard, so even the Beastmaster Hunter pets will be jealous with how much attention you're given to your own primary pet. And there's also a called Dreadstalkers build, and that's the one that really caught my eye back in the alpha and the beta. Dreadstalkers is a pet that doesn't really do much. They just kind of leap in, bite at the enemy's toes for a bit, and then disappear. They give you a resource with being able to get more instacast Demon Bolts, but besides that, they don't really do much. They're just kind of there. But if you go with certain talents, conduit, and even a legendary, you can beef up those bad boys up. Like the AoE damage those Dreadstalkers do in a bite is actually pretty good, and I'm pretty sure it's uncapped or mostly uncapped AoE. So you could just kind of send them out and they'll bite anybody in an area after your tank has done grouping them up. They also have synergies with the way the AoE playstyle works, and with just the amount of raw haste that my Demonology Warlock has, I feel like I can keep pumping out pets over and over and over. Overall, I find this build pretty unique and definitely something different that you don't really do. Normally, you just kind of buff up the damage of you or your Tyrant, but here you're focusing on a very specific subset of your demons, trying to maximize the value of them. It's really awesome for AoE. Well, that's what I really like about it, because I do a lot of Mythic Pluses, so being able to do quite a bit of chunk of AoE damage is always very enjoyable. Finally, probably the most off-meta, probably the most unique and a meme lore build, the playstyle itself of a Survival Hunter. I talked about Survival Hunters before, and they're a pretty big meme. Nobody takes them seriously at all in any of the PvE content, but they're actually super enjoyable and a powerhouse when it comes to AoE. The amount of AoE they can do with those grenades, oh, it's juicy, it is good, it feels great, and it performs really, really well. Comparing it to, let's say, like a Fire Mage, if they're combusting, you're not going to be able to beat them in damage, but you'll get really close. And during their downtime is basically where Survival Hunter can shine, because you don't have the downtime. And a lot of this AoE is uncapped because it works with your grenades, and a legendary that also buffs the damage further of those grenades. A lot of it is just super easy to execute as well. While survival damage on single target is something more to be desired of, and I'm really hoping that Blizzard takes another look at survival going for patch 9.1. I really think there might be 1 or 2 simple fixes that could help out its single target damage output. But as meme of a build is as a melee hunter, it is extremely effective at AoE, and it's super easy and fun to play. It's definitely a unique take at a hunter and puts you in a different perspective, where hunters usually go super far out. This time you want to get melee in, with all the same utility of a hunter with traps, biting shots, freezing traps, stuns. You actually have quite a bit of utility, not a lot of survivability, so in melee you feel sometimes pretty squishy. But it's very, very enjoyable once everything lines up. Once the stars align, you get your big grenades rolling, carving things. It is fantastic. It is great. I wish there was a lot more legendary diversity for survival hunters, or far stronger legendaries to help your single target output or maybe multi-dot output. But if you're thinking about packing a bunch of enemies together like sardines and then throwing nades at them, I think you're going to have quite a bit of fun and quite a lot of damage output. But this is going to be my video on all the off-meta builds that I was able to discover as of recently and try them out for myself. I guess Survival Hunter technically doesn't fall into this category since I already play it as is, but I felt like it's a very enjoyable spec, and every time I play it on streams, quite a lot of people are like, wait, that's survival? That actually looks like fun. It's not amazing on bosses, I'm not gonna lie, but in AoE trash specs, it blasts, so I wanted to feature in this video as well as all the other builds. Definitely should give them a try if you guys have the time or want to try out some different covenants and playstyles. I think it's great while waiting for patch 9.1. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. I do hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know which builds you've been trying that are actually off meta, that are actually super fun, that I should try in the future. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in another video.